Good morning, Liberty lovers. Kathy Lester, Liberty Heart Radio here. I am looking at an article from Kurt Schlichter this morning, and I'm going to read this thing verbatim with a little bit of commentary because if you haven't read this and read it several times and thought about it and shared it and saved it and brought it back and read it again, you're missing something. Kurt Schlichter is always good, but today he gets it in a way you have to read it to believe it. So listen to this. The title of it is Conservative Inc. is being replaced by Us Militant Normals. And you've heard Kurt talk about normals before. That's just decent, ordinary Americans and everybody else. I guess now we're not supposed to be fighting culture wars anymore. Man, it's so hard to keep up with these ever-changing new rules. I'm old enough to remember way back to 2016 before Trump got nominated, and I could have sworn Conservative Inc. was gung-ho for the whole culture war thing. But then Trump actually fought it, taking on the big soft target that is the spoiled semi-literate athletes who like to rub their contempt for the flag we love in our faces in the guise of wokedness. Now we suddenly discover that fighting back is horribly uncouth and déclassé and, oh, will I never. Gosh, I would have thought from all those cruise panels, about how our crumbling culture is slouching toward Babylon and the need to resist the liberal onslaught, that maybe we ought to actually resist the liberal onslaught. But see, my mistake. That was my mistake. I took it seriously when Conservative Inc. promised to fight the leftist blitzkrieg against normal Americans. It was all a scam, a lie, a pose for us rubes. The true cons didn't actually mean it. There's a lot of that not meaning it going on in the GOP right now. Exhibit A is John McCain, who ran ads touting how he was leading the way in opposing Obamacare, only to give it aid and comfort when somebody in the White House would actually sign its repeal. He's the guy the establishment designated to lose to Barack Obama in 2008, and he was sure up to the task. But in retrospect, thank goodness, because McCain's inevitable presidential betrayal of conservatives by breaking his word then and treating GOP voters like he treated his first wife would have done exponentially more damage to conservatism than Trump being prevented from keeping his word today ever could. Oh my God, Kurt, you get it. You just so get it. To continue. It's so good to know that despite his wonderful, close, awesome friend humiliating him while lying to Arizona's voters, Lindsey Graham is still the Blue Falcons' buddy. No hard feelings. There used to be a thing called conservatism, and I knew it pretty well since I was part of it for about a third of a century. But conservatism changed, becoming less about principles, though the Wiscons never shut up about them, and more about money-grabbing, navel-gazing, and intellectual onanism. We'll talk about what that is later, because I don't remember, but I know it's perfect. Actual Republican voters, actual normal Americans, well, they became kind of beside the point in the Tumblr clinking world of the John Boehner cons and to the corporate-friendly compassion cons who put the interests of everyone else, including the active lovers, ahead of the GOP voters who voted the establishment in. Conservatism forgot about the real-world conservatives we expected to line up behind us. While we were talking about free trade, we were ignoring that GOP voter who fought in Fallujah, came home, got a job building air conditioners, raised a family, and then one day watched the video of the oh-so-sorry CEO who looked remarkably like Mitt Romney, because all these guys look remarkably like Mitt Romney, sadly informing his beloved employees that their jobs were getting shipped to Oaxaca. Sorry. And our response to the 58-year-old Republican voter who asked us how he was going to keep paying for his mortgage and his kid in college? Pretty much, well, that's how free enterprise works. Read some Milton Friedman and go learn coding. Okay, Kurt, I'm 57. I get this. This one touched me hard. Actually, the whole article did. But I live with these 57-year-old voters, these 58-year-old voters who are in despair, who are giving up. They've lost heart. They're heartsick because of what is happening in their country and what they can't do about it, or what they feel like they can't do about it. That's why this article is so important. To continue with Kurt's article. That's not a response, not for a political party that requires people to actually vote for it. That's an abdication. But what did Conservative Inc. care? Priorities. There's this new tapas place in Georgetown everyone is talking about. The other night, my buddy from the Liberty Freedom Eagle Institute for Liberty, Freedom, and Eagles saw Lawrence O'Donnell there getting hammered. How about the guy who wanted to be a roofer in Fontana, but he couldn't because the contractors were only hiring illegals? What was our answer to him? Oh, well, the big corporate donors need their serfs, and if some pack of tatted up MS-13 dreamers gang rape your daughter, that's just a price we're willing to pay. They try to crush our religion, and Conservative Inc. cowers because Apple's CEO might say mean things. Just bake the cake, they say. It's not worth the fight. They demand our tax money to kill babies, and Conservative Inc. passes the spending bills. Gosh, we can't risk the WAPO saying we're mean. They diss our national anthem. We react, and Conservative Inc. wags its soft, spindly fingers. So very unpresidential. My word. Conservatism has become a racket, and everything happening now is a result of its members hoping to wait out Trump and the demand for change he represents. Maybe if they do nothing but say all the right things, we normals will get tired and go back to our jobs and keep providing those votes and renting those cruise cabins. But that's not happening. We aren't going away. Business as usual is over. We aren't just giving up, tossing away our country, and submitting to the ruling caste. We were nice with the Tea Party. Trump's not as nice. What's coming after is going to be much, much less nice. Take a step back from Kurt. What he's saying is true, ladies and gentlemen. And you know it's true. We are done. D-O-N-E. Our hearts have been broken once too often, and we are no longer ashamed to stand up and say we are normal, we are Americans, and we are going to take this fight. To continue with Kurt's article. What's coming after is militant normalcy, the not-so-polite demand that the lackwits and failures who style themselves as our betters stop dumping on us normal Americans who work hard and play by the rules. Gosh, that sounds familiar, like it used to be a winning electoral recipe if I only could remember where I heard it before. Who are the normals? The Americans who built this country and defended it. When you eat, it's because a normal grew the food and another normal trucked it to you. When you aren't murdered in the street or don't speak German, it's because a normal with a gun made those things not happen. We normals don't want to rule over others. We don't obsess about how you live your life. But also, we don't want to be compelled to signal our approval or pick up the tab. We are every color and creed, though when someone who is incidentally a member of some other group aligns with normals, he, she, she loses that identity. The left drums normals who are black out of its definition of black. Just as normal women who get drummed out of womanhood and normal gays get drummed out of gayhood. In a way, the left is making e pluribus unum a reality again. To choose to be normal is to choose to reject silly identity group identification and unite. Instead of saying normal Americans, you can just say Americans. Note that while leftists rail against the term normals, when I use it on Twitter, the reactions are always delightful. They will never, ever demand to be counted as one. That's because they hate normal Americans, wanting us enslaved or dead. How do I know? They tell me on Twitter again and again and again. Militant normality is growing as normals awaken to the indisputable truth of our enemy's implacable hatred for us and everything we hold dear, like America. The sight of moron sports ball players disrespecting normals warms libs' frigid little hearts. And make no mistake, that diss is aimed straight at us, not at some musical number. All these cultural aggressions are aimed at us, from demanding you obey their pronoun proclamations to requiring your daughter share a toilet with a dude in a skirt. This is how they seek to break us. Quick step back. He nails it here, and he nails it hard. That's their whole idea. The whole gaslighting media, the whole shaming you for being older, the whole shaming you for loving your country and crying when you see something patriotic. It's designed to break us, and we will not be broken. Back to Kurt's article. That's why the shameful abdication of Conservative Inc. is the cultural fight is both important and irrelevant. It demonstrates that the first loyalty of many folks in the conserva racket is to the ruling caste to which they belong, and it also demonstrates that these wimps' absence from the battle means nothing. We'll fight this fight ourselves, thanks. Sometimes we'll fight it by rediscovering the joy of a late evening without hack TV comics lecturing us about healthcare. Hey, Jimmy Kimmel had a sixth son, and that unusual and unique experience means he has unusual and unique insights. Sometimes we'll hit the remote and spend our Sunday not watching future vegetables hating on our country when they aren't smashing into each other. Sometimes we'll mock these idiots mercilessly. We may even launch a conservative insurgency. And if they keep pushing, getting violent, and trying to strip us of our sacred rights, we might get even more frisky. And then it'll get ugly. But we're not giving up, and we're not going to sit back and just take it. Militant normalcy is the result of normal people roused to anger and refusing to be pushed around anymore. We prefer a free society based on personal liberty and mutual respect. But if you leftists veto that option, that leaves us either a society where you rule and oppress us, or one where we hold the power. So let me break this down, both for the left and for their fussy Frodo-Con enablers. You don't get to win. That's the end of Kurt's article. But it's not the end of this fight. Because remember, liberty-loving patriots, the day may come when you lose heart and you give up on yourself and you give up on America and you give up on the Western world. But it's not today. Today, we fight